Good evening to all. Mr. Rohit Patel, Mr. Radia, Mr. Chinbhai Shah, distinguished guests, scholars, students, friends from the media, my greetings to all of you. I'm indeed honored and privileged to deliver the 35th Vikram Sarabhai Memorial Lecture organized by Vikram Sarabhai AMA Memorial Trust, Ahmedabad. As you all know, Dr. Sarabhai, in a short span of time, brought the country in the technological path, as he firmly believed that India should be second to none the use of advanced technologies for the benefit of the society. He strongly advocated that space research will soon uplift the economic standard of the people living in 600,000 villages of our country. His vision for the Indian space program and his innovative introduction of satellite instructional television experiment sites transformed our country, the result of which we are seeing today. He spent days and nights in many programs of our country in atomic energy, space, industry, and also development of research institutions, management institutions for developing science, management, and technology. He was a great architect of India's lead in advanced technologies and their applications, a creator of creative leaders, builder of scientific and management institutions, a role model for visionary leadership. Dr. Sarabhai ever remains with us as one of the gifted sons of India. I would like to recall one incident which transformed me during the fourth year of my engineering. When I was studying my engineering, that time it was 5-year course, integrated 5-year course for engineering. I was studying there at Madurai, Tyagarajar College of Engineering under Madras University. So in the fourth year, it was January 1968. At the Science Congress at Madurai, I was demonstrating my project work, a time switch to operate multiple electronic devices, a unique one at that time. Sir C. Raman inaugurated the exhibition and he came first. I explained to him about the project and demonstrated its working. So he congratulated me and appreciated as a word of encouragement. Dr. Vikram Sarabhai came very soon following him and listened to me carefully. He hugged me, putting his right hand on my shoulder and said, "You are a bright boy and you have a great future." You think of a student getting a comment from a great scientist at that time. Oh, it had a big effect on me. I was thrilled and felt as if I got a boon from God. I completed my final year in '69 and I kept thinking about a career in space technology. What a coincidence. Just before the announcement of my BE results, I saw a full-page advertisement of Space Science and Technology Center recruiting engineers. I was praying God that I should get. I got selected and joined SSTC at Thiruvananthapuram, of which Dr. Sarabhai was the director at the time. On the first day of my joining, he came to Trivandrum, where I met him. My journey started with his blessings. As a young engineer, I had the opportunity to be chosen by him to work on the evolution of 10-year space profile and on the design project of SLV-3. So this was my beginning. So the beginning itself was very good. So I could inherit some of his great qualities because I worked with him for 2 years. In 70 and 71, full 71 December only he died. So he created many leaders like Professor U.R. Rao, Dr. Abdul Kalam and many others with whom I have also worked. I could see some of his qualities have entered into many of the leaders who have helped India to grow in technology and in stature. Even today, I could remember those days we spent with Dr. Sarabhai, the remembrance of which remains with me all the time. In memory of the great visionary leader I thought I should talk about vision. So I have chosen a topic, vision for India's global leadership. What is India? You all know India had a great scholars. 5,000 years before, India was a great nation in the world. And great scientists came. I was just telling somebody that who invented the theory of gravity? It was Indian, Bhaskaracharya. Who brought all the mathematics, trigonometry, algebra? The Indian. Who gave to the world the cosmology? Indian, 3000 BC. So if you look at everything, finally it comes to the Indian mind. All Indian great scientists and great thoughts that made a big, remarkable impact the whole world. The result of which you are seeing that invasions. People started coming to invade the India, to take away our prosperity, as well as to take away the knowledge and culture. We grow our population without thinking about how to feed them. We didn't participate in the Industrial Revolution, and we welcomed everyone who came to our country. That's what happened. And they ruled us, and India's prosperity came down to a very, negligible level. What remained was poverty. In 1942, there was a big famine, and 50 lakh people died. So famine, problems, poverty, illiteracy, all we got into. In the India, after independence, we started building up in a slow pace through the 5-year plans, and we concentrated on generating food. The population which became a curse to us suddenly became a boon when the information age came that has completely changed the dimension of our country, and we started building up our economy through the three directions: agriculture, industry, and services. Agriculture going into the negative direction, industry showing progress, and then the services picked up a lot. So India was rising. Currently there may be problems, but it is a temporary phase. But what we have today is the knowledge. We have got 580 million people or youth who are below 35 years. That is the biggest resource our country has. No other country has got such resource. Knowledge only made us big. Again, we are coming into the knowledge age. All the types of resources are available in the country. We must use them and then pick up the progress. It is possible to make India a leader. You see what recently I saw that the Indian history published by University of London. There it says, India's glorious past is embedded with a rich scientific and technological heritage from the Vedic age, and is an inspiration to create a scientifically advanced and spiritually enlightened human society in which peace, prosperity, and happiness together create a heaven on earth. So that means we have the potential. Now it is up to us to make use of it. What could be the vision for India? A nation where education with value system is not denied to anyone without any discrimination. A nation which is the best destination for most talented scholars, like Nalanda attracted 32 country scholars, scientists and technologists of the world should come here. A nation where agriculture, industry and service sectors work together in symphony to boost the economy and attract investments. A nation where poverty has been totally eradicated, illiteracy removed, and crimes against women and children are absent, and none in the society feels alienated. A nation where the rural and urban divide has reduced to a thin line. A nation where there is equitable distribution and adequate access to energy, quality water, and affordable health care. A nation that is prosperous, secure, peaceful, and happy with sustainable economic growth rate. This is the type of India we want to look at it. Can we make? That's the question. Sarabhai gives a solution. He says we must be second to none in the application of advanced technologies to the real problems of man and society. Yes, technology is one tool which can make it. What is the game changer technology? Technology is a non-linear tool. Technology can effect the most fundamental changes in the ground rules of economic competitiveness. Technology, if you add value addition using your technology, then you can make competitive products and economy grows and society prospers. So science is linked to technology through applications. Technology is linked to competitiveness and economy. Economy and competitiveness lead to societal prosperity. So Dr. Sarabhai says, technology is not an objective to be aimed at, but a tool to be used for the benefit of the common man. So that is what we have to use. Now, can technology do it? Let us see what has happened. World scenario, industrial revolution, that is technology. World wars, that's technology, proving the advanced technology in the wars. Then weaponization to power, to get the power, P5 countries. And nuclear bombing, they did and became a powerful nation to control the Security Council. So emergence of two superpowers. During this Cold War of the two superpowers, what happened was there was a technology jump. So in India, if you look at it, we happened to go for wars, with the Indo-Pakistan war, India-China war, desperate need for import of systems. Our resources were spent on import of third-rate systems. Technology gap, more than 20 years, because they are all doing the technology development from the Second World War, but we happen to do it after 60s. Impediments, poverty, what are pulling down us? Poverty, famine, heavy brain drain, that is pulling us. So India, if you have to transform, we have to think big. We thought 5-year plans, creating PSUs, and went for technology transfer and production. Then mission mode programs started by the great men, Swaminathan for agriculture, Korean for milk, white revolution, Baba for nuclear energy, Sarabhai for space, Dhawan continued Sarabhai in the space program, Abdul Kalam for missile and defense technologies, J.N. Tata introduced the industry, steel industry, and Walchand started many industries. So these are the great people who on mission mode brought India to take the economy up. If you look at it today, the green revolution has yielded results. Milk, power, we are not doing well, that we are now concentrating on how to produce more power. Then computers, supercomputers, communication, 943.5 million connections are there today. And missile program, space program, we have done very well. So it indicates that science and technology, if it is operated on a mission mode with clear leaders, then we will be able to show the results. This is green revolution. The green revolution came as an idea from C. Subramaniam when he was food minister. He wanted science to be introduced. He brought Nobel laureate Norman Borlaug, who is the think tank for our green revolution. And M.S. Swaminathan was brought from Manila to support him. And finally, we have seen good result of now 241.6 million tons of food we are producing. So here we are using science, but it was not up to the mark. So we have now launched the Green Revolution 2. The second Green Revolution is fully technology. That is from soil characterization, seed selection, fertilizer management, water management, cultivation, post-harvesting, protecting the grains which we have produced. And then like that we have put a production target of 400 million tons, even though area is shrinking. It is not that we have the same area. We are becoming almost 1/3 area we are becoming, but production has to increase and the target is good, it is achievable. We are using space technology, is becoming a very important contributor to requirement for the war. So we don't want to be inferior to anybody. So thinking ahead, managing complexities between two countries and the whole system of working under the government funding, novel JV concept came, one step higher than state-of-the-art technology, and best practices used. Industry was made as a consortium. We established missile industry complex through this project. Today, our missile industries are all partners. We have made the missile industries. And technology sharing with Russians, resource pooling, mutual learning. So joint venture helps to realize advanced technology product in a cost-effective manner, because partly 50% comes from another country. Cost-effective manner, produced in shortest time, giving a competitive edge to the nation. Today it is the highly demanded product by Indian Armed Forces and by other countries. So what Dr. Kalam started a program today has yielded number of strategic missiles showing our strength, number of them, and we have got an attack missile, precision strike weapon, BrahMos, which is proved in multiple configurations, and we have got a ballistic missile defense. If the enemy comes in missile, we can also finish him. Then tactical missiles, air-to-air, anti-tank missile, air defense system, that also we have. So this India has become a missile power. So what do we do next? There's a question coming to our mind all the time. Having taken the lead, we want to further take the lead. So from supersonic, we want to go to hypersonic. Now our speed is 3,300 km per hour. We want to make it 7,000 km per hour. That's our speed we want. So then we thought some new idea like Sudarshan Chakra. Sudarshan Chakra is the only weapon of the god, is always moving. All other weapons are in the hand. This is moving. And it's operated by the mind. Can we operate through mind a missile which goes at the fastest speed, finishes off its work, comes back to us? No? This is what we are working now. So looking at the space frontiers, which is just started by Dr. Sarabhai, we are now going for hypersonic, which will give low cost access to space. Is a very important technology, hypersonic. Then which will finally ultimately will give benefit of reaching the planets at less cost, establish the factory on the moon and later on Mars. Mars missions are happening now. Then put a solar power satellite. The sun is always there for us. If sun is not there, we are not there. So sun is there all the time. So the sun energy should be used maximum to generate our power, solar energy. So it can be done on terrestrial. It can also be done through a satellite from up. So that is called solar power satellite. We have to build a satellite in the space. Space colonization, maybe after 100 years. And then people would like to move to new Earth. Beyond our solar system, two equal to Earth available. These are the two coded Earth. The photographs, initial photographs show it's as good as Earth in color, in looking like Earth. If you look Earth from space, same thing, same type of photo you are getting. That shows that it has got an atmosphere type of thing. May not be the same atmosphere, different atmosphere, but it's livable. So space tourism will come, interplanetary travel will happen in the next 100 years. Man will find a way to get out of the Earth. So human race will get out of their cradle, that is the Earth, to explore new frontiers in space as the child gets out of its cradle. When we were a child, we were in the cradle. We got out. That cradle we have stayed long. Our sun is 5.5 billion year old, our sun, and the solar system. It can be maximum another 5 billion years it can be there. That's what Chandrasekhar Subramanian has told. It will become a dwarf and then finally black hole. So the escaping from our solar system, new Earths are there. So like this, we may not be there after hundreds of years, but things will go on moving. Man will find new things. That is the technology, science and technology. So technology moving up. If you just plot the technology from the beginning to end now, you see the technology mapping. We have made the first bronze statue in the civilization time. We are the first to make an alloy. That is technology. This photo you would have seen. We are the first to make 5 metals into an alloy, Panjaloha statues. We have made the iron pillar in Delhi, Qutub Minar area, 912 BC. There is no rust in that. Even top metallurgists are not able to find out why there is no rust. It is done 3,000 years before that pillar. No rust. You can see. Why? Anybody can give an answer. That is technology. So our people were great people. We belong to a great gene. Then why we can't do it? That's the question. So we have to trigger ourselves. Our mind should be triggered. The younger generation must think. Then they can really do wonders. Tipu's rocket came first, I said. Industrial revolution, we didn't participate. But we are now looking at how to use technology. From Stone Age, we have come to nanotechnology age we have come. So looking at nanotechnology, whether it can make any revolution, new materials, new devices which can give revolutions. People are now trying to replace the brain. They say 2029 brain will be replaced, they say. So like this, new things are coming. A biochip can make wonders. A Parkinson's disease or Alzheimer's can be cured with a biochip. Nano technology based biochip. So many things are going to happen in the revolution, that is knowledge revolution. All technologies are converging to find new products and devices. So myself and Dr. Abdul Kalam, we studied what will be the future, how India can become a leader. India can become leader only by technology. Technology only will solve all your problems. So that means we identified 10 unique technologies in this book. The book I am going to present to the AMA just now. So that book talks about nanobio info technologies and their convergence to solve energy, water, healthcare, defense problems. Robotics and artificial intelligence and cognitive sciences. This is again automation, industry, defense, space. Then sensor technology, photonics, laser, MEMS, for surveillance, security, industry requirements. Then materials technology like smart technology, stealth technologies, composite materials, metametals. Then high energetics, explosives, antimatter propulsion which can give fastest speed. Thorium, neutrino, Higgs boson, the technologies how we can use. Then fusion technology for the energy. We know only fission. Fusion we have not mastered. So this is another area where world is working on. Space technology, geospace for agriculture, environment, water and low-cost access to planetary expedition. Then missile technology for strategy and defense, hypersonics for defense and space and for establishing our stations and on the planets. Then green technologies for environment. These 10 technologies have been identified in the book, giving the background of technology evolution in the book. This book is called Thoughts for Change. We can do it. So we have to achieve competitiveness. Competitiveness means product excellence, cost effectiveness and delivery in time. That means newer technologies, quality procedure, certification, continuous improvement, upgradation, cost reduction, then product infrastructure, trained manpower, enterprise resource planning, supply chain management, all have to come. Then only you will get competitiveness. That is the key for global leadership, for making. Huh? Foreign exchange. The decision was taken during Abdul Kalam's time when we started the IGMDP, no foreign technology. I was explaining to you all these things. When we have gone for BrahMos, we have gone for a joint venture. Material, everything available, sir, here. We don't know. It is available. India's knowledge potential, as I told you, 580 million youngsters below 35 years, large number of talented youth with higher education are required globally. We can supply our people to the whole globe today. That is our strength. And we have to create that global cadre, world-class skill and higher education. That means we need research institutions to come in a big way to create knowledge-based systems and products. The prediction by all others is not our prediction. All prediction shows India top in quality and quantity. Quality and quantity, India is going to be the top in manpower. This is the biggest resource. What else we want? We have got a plan for 2020. It was evolved by 500 scientists together for 2 years, working constantly, and they evolved major programs, 17 programs. Out of that, 5 I am describing as agriculture, agro-processing, education, healthcare, critical technology, strategic industries, information communication technology. How do we make it to massive employment? Then infrastructure. We need river networking, we need electric power, we need providing urban amenities in rural areas, Pura. That means 600,000 villages have to be linked as village clusters. So if we can do that, India's economy will progress. So we have civilization. Our country is fortunate to have a very good civilization heritage. We have got human resources and traditional knowledge and good genes. And we have got natural resources, we have got knowledge, technology we have to use, add value, and operate mission mode projects, create public-private consortiums, go for international joint ventures with like-minded countries, 10 unique technologies which we told, and technology vision, they guide us, and we will achieve food, health, social security, economic prosperity, defense and international security. Industrial growth will come. Global leadership. So vision for India's global leadership is in our hands. It is not somebody's hand. No foreign country to tell us. It is in our hands. So, but we need leaders. You cannot do things without leaders. We need creative leaders. I have shown some of the people, creative leaders. They are role models. Similarly, we have to make thousands of leaders. Who is a creative leader? We really want economic development that is powered by competitiveness. If competitiveness is there, our products will be liked by others. That means export will increase if we have got competitiveness. That needs knowledge power, that needs technology and innovation, that is powered by resource investment on high technology development. R&D, resource investment. So that is powered by the return on investment. That means your revenue should increase. Organization should become self-sufficient. That depends on the volume and repeated sales which are required to be done by, that means you have to establish customer loyalty. That means customers should be delighted to buy your system. That depends on quality and value of the products. Quality will come if by the employee productivity and his commitment. Employee productivity will come if the employee is loyal to the organization. Employee loyalty is powered by employee satisfaction. That means working environment we have to create. Working environment is powered by management innovations. That's what the AMA teaches people, the management innovation to create the good working environment. That management innovation will come only from creative leader. So a creative leader can completely transform our country. So creative leadership is exercising the vision to change the traditional role from commander to coach, manager to mentor, director to delegator, and from one who demands respect to one who facilitates self-respect. That is creative leader. That was Sarabhai. What we learned from him? Leader must think of the nation greater than himself. Today, that is a problem. Leader must have great vision for the country. Leader must have passion to realize the vision. Leader must be able to travel into an unexplored path with honesty of purpose, with high level of integrity. Leader must have courage to take difficult decisions. Leader must know how to withstand failures and motivate his team. This I have seen myself. We came one night, Dr. Sarabhai, Dr. Abdul Kalam was doing an experiment for the payload ejection for the sounding rocket. He very proudly showed to Sarabhai night at 2 o'clock That test failed. Next day morning, Sarabhai called him, Dr. Abdul Kalam. He went to him, thinking that he is going to get firing from him. So he prepared the whole night without sleep. What has happened? What was the problem? Sir, I have come. Kalam, you are promoted to your next grade. That's what he said. Nothing else. See, the man leader sees something else. Not the failure and punishment. He is not that. He is not small. He thinks big. So, leaders should have nobility and compassion in management. Leaders should be creator of creative leaders. Today we are seeing many leaders have been created by one man. So if we are expected to achieve, this is my theory, if we are expected to achieve results never before accomplished, we must employ methods never before attempted, but with utmost honesty. So, a global leadership for India will come when you are inspired by some great purpose like this global leadership. Some extraordinary tasks, all your thoughts break their bounds. When you think high, all your thoughts break their bounds. Small things doesn't come to you. Your mind transcends limitations. Your consciousness expands in every direction, and you find yourself in a new, great, and wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties, and talents come alive, and you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamt yourself to be. This is Maharishi Patanjali. So thank you.